Senior Brand Ambassador of Bombay Sapphire Gin. Welcome. What led you to work for Bombay Sapphire? What is the story behind it?
So it's a really interesting story as to how I came to work for Bombay Sapphire, because I used to be, I went to catering college and then worked in 5-star hotels, Michelin-star restaurants as a chef and then a bartender, and traveled around the world with it. But then as naturally within the industry, sometimes you get a bit bored. So then I started to do cocktail competitions. Got quite good, and I actually won Diageo World Class many years ago. And then a few months after that, Bacardi came to me and they invited me to be the ambassador for Bombay Sapphire for the UK. This was back in 2009. And I think at the time I had to Google what that meant because I was the first ambassador for Bombay Sapphire. So it was an unusual role. And yeah, I jumped at the chance, and I was based in London. And then several years later became the senior brand ambassador, moved out to here to the countryside and helped train up all the other ambassadors around the world, but from the home of Bombay.
What is Bombay Sapphire's brand philosophy, and how do you communicate it to people through your role as an ambassador?
So our brand Bombay Sapphire at the moment is all about stir creativity. Our job is to try and stir creativity in other people, whether that be consumers or influencers or bartenders, of course. So with bartenders, I'll do sessions here at the distillery where we'll educate them on the brand, but also inspire them to come up with creative cocktails using our product because of the balanced flavor profile that the gin tends to give. It's not a one-dimensional gin. It's versatile with pine, citrus, earthy, floral, and spicy flavors. So I try to inspire the bartenders to create their own unique serves with the gin. So yeah, it's a pretty cool job, right? I get to inspire creativity.
And people are listening?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Yeah, we don't obviously force people, but bartenders who visit, I host people every day, bartenders who go back all across the world, and they will tend to put a drink on their menu for then the consumers to buy. So that's working for us.
Is the job of an ambassador different today than it was, let us say, 10 or 15 years ago?
Yeah, I think my job has changed a lot over the last 15 years. I've been with 16 years now with Bacardi, Bombay. I think back then it was very much a traveling job. You did a lot more travel. It wasn't sales-led. And not that my job now is sales-led. I don't do any sales. My job, I would say, is pre-sales. It's about inspiring people. But I know of other ambassadors in the world who are ambassadors, and I think their jobs now are more salesy-led as well as entertainment. My job is probably edutainment. Entertainment and education together, at the beautiful home of Bombay.
You're a great expert on gins and spirits. What does the perfect gin taste like?
Oh, that's a tricky one to answer because obviously everybody is different. So I think it's hard to say what the best gin or what the perfect gin is, of course. There's some amazing gins out there. We've got 250 above my head up there, different ones. And I judge for the IWSC and the World Gin Awards. So I'm versed with trying lots of different gins. I love gin in general. But for me, I genuinely love a complex gin, a gin that isn't just juniper. Of course, I love juniper in there, a bright, fresh, vibrant juniper, but also citrus, pine, earthy, floral flavors. So it's good to have those 5 flavors, but also I love texture in gin. So I think a great gin is a gin that has a long mouthfeel for a really creamy, buttery mouthfeel. And then it's a gin that you can use in lots of different ways. Because some gins, they just overpower in every cocktail they go in, and it doesn't seem very versatile. And the thing I love about Bombay is that it's super versatile. You can use it in a vast array of different cocktails, and it allows creativity in people because of that.
Bombay Sapphire is known for its unique infusion of botanicals. What is the process of selecting and combining these botanicals?
So we're very fortunate to have our own master botanicalist with Alessandro Garni. And it's his job to source the botanicals directly from farmers around the world. So we don't buy from middlemen or wholesalers. We buy directly from our farmers. We source them. Alessandro checks them. He weighs them out. And then we make the gin here. So by doing that ourselves, rather than buying from third parties, we can ensure the quality is consistent. And then, of course, that makes the gin consistent when we use it in our vapor infusion production process.
Can you tell us which botanicals are key in the production and how they influence the final taste of the gin?
So there's one particular botanical that has to be in gin to be a gin, and that is juniper, of course. Every gin has to have juniper in the gin. It has to be predominantly flavored. And, if you don't taste the juniper, is it really a gin? I would argue. But I think it would be a very boring category if you only had juniper in the gin. So thankfully, we can add others. In Bombay Sapphire, we have 10 botanicals. We write them on the side of the bottle. And not only what they are, but where they come from. So juniper definitely is very key. We also like a lot of citrus, so we use coriander and lemon peel for the citrus element, which then makes the gin work well in Tom Collins and French 75 cocktails. I love the orris root botanical because it gives a violet flavor, so then the gin works well in an aviation. There's also quite a bit of spice in the gin from cassia bark, grains of paradise and cuba berries. So for me, I think it's fantastic in cocktails like a Bloody Mary. Everyone always thinks vodka, a Bloody Mary, but actually you could do gin Bloody Mary called a Red Snapper, which some would say is the original, and it just seems to work really, really well. So a little bit of spice, a bit of citrus, and of course the pine. And then I think going back to another point I made earlier with the almond, you don't necessarily taste it, but you get the texture from it, and it gives a really lovely, creamy, buttery mouthfeel. And so drinks like this, Bombay Sapphire Martini, when you taste it, you get a nice coating of the oiliness, and that gives a longer mouthfeel.
What would you say makes Bombay Sapphire different from other gin brands on the market?
I think that everybody's going to say that they have the best botanicals. And of course, we won't not say that. The way we source our botanicals is incredible from the farmers. But the one main thing that makes us so different to everyone else is our production process with vapor infusion. So whereas every other gin in the world boils their botanicals in the still, we vapor infuse. So we hold the botanicals separately in a copper basket chamber, and we steam them with the hot alcohol ethanol vapor, and we steam them at a cooler temperature, extract the flavor that way. So it tends to provide the flavor of the botanicals in a kind of brighter, fresher, more natural way. I'm not going to say it's better. I'm definitely not going to say it's worse. Of course, I just think it's different. And I think the bar trade around the world have really resonated well with vapor infusion because they know it creates a more mixable and versatile gin for their cocktails.
Do you have any favorite cocktails you recommend with Bombay Sapphire, or any special tips for bartenders on how to use this gin?
So I do have a favorite cocktail to use with Bombay Sapphire. Several, I guess. I guess the main way of drinking gin in general is a gin tonic. So I would do it in a balloon glass, lots of ice, squeeze a lime, 1 part gin, 2 parts tonic. And I go for a tonic like Fever Tree because it's natural, there's nothing artificial. It's actually made local to our distillery, so that's great for us. So gin tonic, fantastic. I love gin and ginger ale. And I'd recommend for people that don't like bitterness from tonic, then go for ginger ale. It works really well with our gin. We actually have a hero cocktail here at the distillery called the Laverstoke, which has Martini Bianco in it, Saint-Germain, Bombay, fresh lime, in a balloon glass with ginger ale, mint sprig garnish, and it's an absolute crowd pleaser. People seem to love it. So that hits all the key notes of Bombay with pine, citrus, earthy, floral, and spicy flavors. So I think that's a fantastic cocktail. You can find the recipe on our website. And then, of course, martinis. I mean, who doesn't love a martini? Gin martini. I like mine wet. So with Martini Bianco, dash of orange bitters, stirred down with an orange garnish.
Do you have any plans for new products or innovations that you are looking forward to?
I think over the last 10 years, we've done a lot of innovation with Bombay. We've done many, many products for different countries around the world. But now I believe that we are calming down our innovation a little bit. So I'm unaware of anything in the pipeline yet for some new innovation. And I think we're focusing on making Bombay Sapphire great again. So I would say from an innovation point of view, there's nothing new that I can share with you, unfortunately, at the moment.
If you had to recommend one cocktail from Bombay Sapphire that everyone should try, which one would it be and why?
That's a really great question. Because I think, like I said before, I think gin and tonic puts a lot of people off. And they think it's the gin that they don't like, but maybe it's the tonic they don't like. So I think the gateway cocktail for gin would be a Tom Collins. So freshly squeezed lemon juice, a little bit of sugar to balance the sourness, the gin in there, of course, and then lengthen it with soda water over ice. It's basically an adult's lemonade, with sugar, lemon, gin, soda. It's really lovely, bright, fresh, vibrant. If you're in your garden at home, you can make it in a jug and then pour it out to your friends. But then also you can be creative with it, and you could add blueberries, strawberries, raspberries, some mint or basil, different herbs. You can make it your own. And I think that's really important with cocktails. As long as you nail the basics of balance, and then you can add your own personality to it. So a Tom Collins is a great gateway cocktail.
And your favorite cocktail at Bombay Sapphire?
Oh, there's so many. Just one. I think my personal number one cocktail with gin and Bombay Sapphire would be an aviation cocktail. So an aviation, for those that don't know, would be 50, 60 ml of Bombay Sapphire, 15 ml of maraschino liqueur, so like a dry cherry liqueur, 15 ml of freshly squeezed lemon juice, a few dashes of the Bitter Truth creme de violette, so violet liqueur. Give it a really, really good shake, and then fine strain using a tea strainer into a martini glass, spritz of lemon on top, and then a cherry, maraschino cherry inside. Oh, honestly, with the right gin, and certainly our gin, I think it pops because it pulls on the orris root botanical that's in the gin. It's maybe not everybody's cup of tea. Like a Negroni can be a challenge, because it's quite big and bold and bitter. The first sip is a bit, it's the same with the aviation. The first sip, it's quite fragrant, it's quite floral, but when you go 2-3 sips in, you're like, yeah, I know. Yeah, you really link in with it. So an aviation for me is sensational.
That was another episode of the Visit Chef Magazine podcast, featuring a conversation with Sam Carter. You can find all episodes in our archive at visitchef.com/podcast, as well as on all major podcast apps. Feel free to contact us, we'd love to hear from you. We'll be back with a new episode soon, and we're already looking forward to having you with us again.